All right, so here we go. Now, let's start off by talking very briefly about our discussion for this week. I want to remind everybody, I'm not saying any of you people here tonight had this problem, but a couple of people missed the deadline of Wednesday and they lost points for that. We have to have our discussion in no later than Wednesday, end of the day, for full credit. I know it doesn't say that, but I'm saying that. It has to be Wednesday, not Saturday. And the other thing I want to remind you of is that you are also responsible to come in on 2 different days and talk to one of your students about their post. So in other words, you're going to come in, if you do it like on Wednesday, you can also leave a post for one of your students on Wednesday and then come in on Thursday and do another post for another student on Thursday, and technically that will be 2 days. Even though you did your main post on Wednesday, I will allow you to go with your reply to a student on a Wednesday if you want. If that's not what you're going to do, then you got to come in on Thursday and do a reply to students, and Friday to do a reply to students. So do you all understand that?
Yes.
Okay. That's for full credit. In other words, I will dock credit if this isn't done this way. And one thing I will dock credit for is if you just slam them in at the last minute. I'm very fussy about that because, to be honest with you, I've got like maybe 28 to 30 students here, and I just want you to think about this for a minute. It's very important for you to kind of consider this. 30 people, if all 30 people waited until 8 hours before the deadline to slam in their discussion and their replies to other students. Well, how could they reply to other students if everybody waited until the last minute to put their main topic in? And if everybody,
there's no discussion.
Right, and if everybody puts in their replies to students 8 hours before the end, how is that a discussion? I mean, nobody really gets to interact with each other. So, I mean, okay, I understand that if something really happens and you have no choice, you put it at the last minute. I'm going to give you credit, but I'm going to dock credit. I really want you people to understand this is a discussion. It has to be done proactively, which means essentially it should be a forum. People should be able to talk to one another. The only way that's going to happen is if you find time through the course of your week. And again, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. I got to tell you something. I work Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday all day. I find time during the day in my job to go in and do a couple of little things here and there. Even if I take 5 minutes on my lunch, I do that. So, I mean, you can do it if you really want to do it, all right? So I don't really think it's unreasonable, and I don't know why they tell you to do by Saturday, 11:59 p.m. Mountain Time, end of week 1, because that's so deceptive. I mean, that's telling you when it has to be done, but it doesn't really specify, since it's a discussion, that the main topic needs to be in by Wednesday. That's what it really should say there. So since it doesn't say that, I'm saying that. I'm telling you, make sure that you have your main topic in by Wednesday. Oh, and by the way, this week what you're going to do, this is why I'm actually here. This week what you're going to do is you're going to pick a particular tool or a skill in Photoshop. Now it's asking you to create a how-to tutorial. You can pick your tool or your skill, and they want you to have fun with this assignment. They're asking you to create a video using a screencast software like Jing or any other kind of software. You could even do a PowerPoint presentation where you can record it. But I had a number of students last mod, I taught this course, I had a number of students last mod who were all flipped out because they just didn't know these softwares. So I told them, and this is where they added this for me, you can type a step-by-step tutorial as long as it's 300 words or more. So in other words, if you will pick a tool and do a 300-word discussion of how you use that tool. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yes.
Okay, so that's it. You can either do a screencast if you're capable of doing it. And actually, I had 3 or 4 students last mod who did them, and they were pretty sensational. I got to tell you, I was impressed by them. But I understand that not everybody's capable of doing it at this point. So just to make it easy for you, to make it reasonable, you can do 300 words of a discussion how to use the tool, all right? One other thing I want to point out here is I would like you guys to start getting more professional with your discussions. Notice what I did here. I put a topic title. So whatever your topic is, I'd like you very much to put a title. And then what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to identify the course and your name. Of course, this is my name. Then down here, this represents just what you're writing. Okay, so start doing this, and I don't want you to do this just for me. I want you to get into the habit of doing this for all of your courses, because I can tell you right now, all of your instructors will really appreciate if they see you start doing this. So, I mean, I don't know whether any of your other instructors have asked you or told you to do this yet, but I think it's a very good idea to start titling your topics. I don't expect you to, use the title discussion software tools as they apply to design. I'm saying whatever tool or whatever skill you pick, you're going to create a title personally for that particular topic that you're going to give your presentation on. And then, of course, just give us knowledge of what course it's for and your name. Okay, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Any questions about that?
Nope.
You think you'll have any trouble doing that? I mean, is it too much to ask?
No.
Nope.
No. And again, I want you to start doing this, not just for me. I want you to start doing this for your other instructors, because I know for a fact it'll impress them. And all these little things will help you get better grades. I'm telling you, these people see you doing this stuff, and they will start giving you better grades. Now, another thing I wanted to point out is that since most of the time you use some sort of referencing material, very important, and some of you did this last week and some of you did not, very important that you guys do referencing and citation. Absolutely important that you start doing that, especially if you're using sources. Reference your sources. It also looks professional, and it also tells the instructor who's grading your project that you cared enough to look into this to get the right information to put into your topic. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my jag on discussions for tonight. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna belabor it. Get rid of that. And the assessment. So there's 2 things that I'd like you to remind me to do tonight. I probably won't need to be reminded, but just in case I don't, remind me 2 things. One thing, I want to go through, at least go through JPEGs, and I want to go through PSDs. It's very important that I show you a little bit about how to handle PSDs and how to handle JPEGs, because it seems to me, from my memory here, I think you're pretty much asked through this course to submit to me PSDs and JPEGs. And I know that some people had trouble with it last week, and whether or not you resolve that issue, I'd like to see if I could maybe make it so it's resolved tonight so you don't have that problem again. Okay?
Okay.
Now, the other thing that I would like to make sure I cover tonight is text on a path. Last mod, I made the mistake of assuming too much, and I didn't demonstrate how to put text on a path, and some people were absolutely lost. I know you have textbooks, and I know the textbooks explains this stuff in it, and I assumed that that's what would happen. Let me go down a little bit and see what they say here. They don't really say much other than that. So it's very important that I show you how to put text on a path. Have any of you had Illustrator?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, did you have to do text on a path in Illustrator yet?
Yes. Yes.
You did? All right, well, this is an Illustrator, this is Photoshop, but it's very similar. The way that you do it is very similar. It's not exactly the same because the tools are slightly different, but it's very similar. So, I mean, it's not ridiculously difficult, but I need to be able to make sure that you guys feel comfortable doing that. So that's what I want to do before I get done with this. And then, of course, I'm going to show you a couple of the things that I do. All right, so before I get into that, you have any questions about either one of these things, the assessment or the discussion? Anything?
No.
No. All right, I have 2 videos that I've saved, and I want to also point out to you that in your announcements I also put these videos. I don't know whether you've gone in and taken a look yet, but there is a document in there, and on that document are links to these YouTube videos. I will tell you right now that let me ask you this: Did you guys get have you been given access to lynda.com yet?
What?
Lynda.com. Did the school give you access to lynda.com yet?
No.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, well, I don't know. I think they said in one of our meetings by next mod, then I guess is what it is. I think by next mod, you guys should be getting access. Do you know what lynda.com is, anybody?
Yes.
Yeah, lynda.com is actually very valuable. I use lynda.com for ideas and also for freshening up on things. If there's, because again, I have to, what happens with me as a graphic designer, I get hired to do certain things, and depending upon where I'm at, I'm working with certain programs. I worked for Vonage for 18 months, and all I did the entire time I was there essentially was work on YouTube videos for them. And I did nothing but work with Flash, Photoshop, and Illustrator the whole time. I didn't do anything with Dreamweaver. I didn't do anything with InDesign. And, you know, what happens is you kind of get brain locked into things. If you work with something enough, it's almost like everything in your mind is all about that particular program that you're working with daily for 18 months. Now I'm working in a company where I use a lot of Photoshop and I use a lot of InDesign and a little bit of Illustrator, mostly Photoshop and mostly InDesign. So it's like I go and I start playing around with Flash, and it's almost like I can barely remember all the things that I did with Flash. You would think that that's not the case, but as I say, what happens, your mind kind of gets plugged into a particular thing. So, you know, that's why these things occur. So anyway, yeah, so let me start off by showing you these videos. This one here, there's two projects that you're going to be working on. You're going to have to submit 2 projects. There are 3 choices. If you want my opinion, stay away from the cat. The cat is a nightmare. I couldn't even do the cat myself, okay? And as a matter of fact, it frustrated me so much that I finally just literally ran away from it screaming. So I would I mean, you can do what you want, but I would say that you're probably safest picking the girl and the kids with the dogs. The kids with the dogs has a very bad spot in it, and I'm going to show you how to deal with that. Try to deal with it as best you can. Listen, I know that this is the first time you're working on this kind of program. I know, but I do want to see you make an effort. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. But I'll try to work with you as best I can, understanding that this is new to everybody. So anyway, Photoshop Smooth Skin. One of the projects you're working on is the girl. So I thought this would be a very good video for you to watch. So here we go. You ready?
Hi, this is Marty from Blue Lightning TV. I'm going to show you how to create smooth, blemish-free skin from a photo. This is an update of a tutorial I did on an earlier version of Photoshop. Open a photo you'd like to retouch. I downloaded this one from Shutterstock.com. The first step is to make a selection of your subject's skin. There are many ways to do this, so choose the method that works best for you. For example, you could use your quick selection tool and drag over the skin to select it. To remove areas of the selection, press and hold Alt or Option as you drag over it. Go to Select and Refine Edge. I did an in-depth tutorial on Refine Edge, so I won't be going over all the details here. Check Smart Radius and increase the radius a little bit. Brush over the areas where the hair overlaps the skin and output it as a new layer with Layer Mask. Click the box next to your original photo to make it visible, and go to Filter, Blur, and Surface Blur. For this image, I'll make the radius 16 and the threshold 12 levels. However, you may want to adjust these amounts depending on the size and resolution of your photo. Choose a combination that smooths out the skin just enough to hide most blemishes and imperfections. Don't be concerned about its texture yet. We'll take care of that in a minute. Next, we'll restore back the areas of the face that we don't want smoothed out, such as the eyes, eyebrows, and lips. To do this, click the Layer Mask to make it active, and open your brush tool and your brush picker. We'll take care of the size in a moment. Make the hardness 0% and the opacity and flow 100%. Then press Enter or Return. To make your brush larger or smaller, press the right or left bracket key on your keyboard. Brush over any areas you want to reveal back the original unretouched photo and adjust the brush size accordingly. I'll brush inside the eyebrows, eyes, and eyelids, lips, and fine hair overlapping the forehead. If you have areas of the face where the skin pores didn't smooth over, let's blur them a bit so they'll blend into the face. Make the face layer active and open your blur tool. Make its strength 100% and adjust its size accordingly. Brush over those areas to blend them in. Next, we'll remove any spots left on the face. Open your spot healing brush. Make sure the Content Aware button is active. Adjust the size of your tool a bit larger than the blemish and brush over it. Continue until all the blemishes, scars, and other imperfections are removed. When you're done, go to Filter, Noise, and Add Noise. Pick Gaussian and pick Monochromatic. Drag the slider to an amount that results with the grain that matches the rest of your image. I'm using an amount of approximately 1.5%. However, your image may require a different amount depending on its size and resolution. This is Marty from Blue Lightning TV. Thanks for watching.
Good. Okay. Whoop. Okay. All right. So here's the deal. I'm going to demonstrate how to do this with your girl tonight. But the thing that I think you might find valuable about this particular video is it gives you pretty much exactly what you need to do your girl. One of the assignments is a girl, and you're going to do more or less the same thing to the girl that this guy Marty did in his video. Instead of going through 2 hours worth of my video trying to find the spot where I do the demonstration, you might want to, as an option, go into the announcements and open up this video and watch this video. I don't know, what was it like, maybe 3 minutes, 5 minutes? I don't even think it was 5 minutes. But this basically, you could watch this a couple of times. And he starts off by saying there's a number of ways you could do this. It's very true. There's a number of ways that you could do this. I might do something a little bit different than him. But the bottom line is it is very much like what you guys are going to be doing with your girl. Okay? Any questions about that?
Mm-mm.
Did it seem clear enough to you guys? I mean, did that seem clear, more or less?
Yes.
Good. All right. Well, that's it. That's essentially one of your projects, and that's a pretty good demonstration. That's why I chose this video. Pretty good demonstration of the workflow, the techniques involved in making your girl look good. All right. Now, the other one that I have here is sort of a next step for that, because this shows you a little bit about how to make the eyes pop a little bit. And you might want to do this with your girl. I'm going to demonstrate a way to do it in my demonstration later. So we'll watch him do this.
Hi, this is Marty from Blue Lightning TV. I'm going to show you a technique that will brighten and enhance the eye's irises as well as change their colors. This works especially well for irises that are originally dark. Open a photo of a person you'd like to use. I downloaded this one from Shutterstock.com. Make a copy of it by pressing Ctrl-J on Windows or Command-J on a Mac. Let's zoom into one of the eyes. To do this, press Z on your keyboard to open your zoom tool and drag a rectangle over the eye. To reposition it on your screen, hold down the space bar and drag your image. Open your brush tool and make sure the hardness is 0% and the opacity and flow are 100%. We'll adjust the size in a moment. Make sure your foreground and background colors are black and white respectively. If they aren't, press D on your keyboard. Click the Quick Mask icon so we can brush in quick masks over the irises. To reduce the size of your brush, press the left bracket key. Now, brush across the inside perimeter of the iris and make sure there are no holes in the quick mask. To quickly fill it in, open your paint bucket tool and left-click inside the quick mask. Press B to open back up your brush tool and brush over the empty areas. Hold down the space bar to slide the image over and brush over the inside perimeter of this iris. Press G to open your paint bucket tool and left-click inside the quick mask. Press B again to open back up your brush tool and brush in the rest. If you need to zoom out a little so you can see both eyes on your screen, press Control or Command and the minus key. Press Q to make the quick masks into selections, and then invert the selections by pressing Control or Command Shift I. Click the layer mask icon to make a layer mask of the selections next to the active layer. Click the new layer icon to make a new layer. Go to the layer mask and hold down Alt or Option as you drag a copy of it next to the empty layer. Click on the empty layer to make it active and change its blend mode to overlay. Make sure white is the foreground color and make the opacity 50%. Increase your brush size by pressing the right bracket key. Now, brush over the bottom half of the iris a few times to brighten it. Then, brush over the screen left iris to brighten it. As I toggle back and forth, you can see that the color is brighter and more vibrant. Click the thumbnail of layer 1 to make it active, and go to Filter, Sharpen, and Unsharp Mask. This will sharpen the details within the iris. I'll choose an amount of 40%, the radius is 10 pixels, and the threshold is 0 levels. Depending on the size, resolution, and characteristics of your photo, experiment with these settings to get just the right amount of sharpness. As I toggle back and forth, you can see the difference. After you apply Unsharp Mask, if you want to make it look less sharp and have less contrast, just reduce its opacity. Next, we'll change the eye color. Make the top layer active and click the adjustment layer icon. Choose Hue Saturation. Go to the layer mask and drag a copy of it on top of the layer mask at the top. If you see this warning to replace it, click Yes. Click the icon next to the layer mask to make the adjustment layer active, and drag the hue slider to the right and left to change the eye color. If you want to tone down the color, reduce the saturation. I'll reduce mine to -46. To see your entire document, press Control or Command 0. This is Marty from Blue Lightning TV. Thanks for watching.
So the only problem with Marty is he has a tendency of doing this very quickly. He's not slow. And I think that's probably the only problem. So my guess is that you probably would be able to kind of follow along with him, but you might have to watch it a couple of times before you actually go in and try it. And that's not the only way that you can accomplish this. There's other ways you can go about doing this. But again, if you want to try doing this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the Photoshop lips, a great way to change lip color as well. I think that's one more that I think you're going to want to take a look at, because that's something else that you could do with your girl, okay? So we'll take a look at this one real quick.
Hi, this is Marty from Blue Lightning TV. I'm going to show you a super simple way to give photos of lips an endless variety of colors, and the best part is they'll look like real lipstick. This document is 1280 by 720 pixels with a resolution of 72 pixels per inch. Call up your brush tool, make sure your foreground color is black, your mode is normal, and the opacity is 100%. Press the letter Q to instruct your brush to paint a quick mask. To reduce your brush size, click on the left bracket key a couple of times. And then brush over the lips until you've filled in their shape, leaving a space in between them if there is one. Press the letter Q to make the quick mask into a selection, and then invert the selection by pressing Control or Command Shift I. Go to Select, Save Selection, and type in Lips. Click on the adjustment layer icon and choose Solid Color. Let's pick a bright red color. In the Layers panel, now just switch the blend modes to blend the color with the lips. Click on Darken to get a super rich red lipstick color. Reduce its opacity if you'd like it less intense. I found Soft Light works really well too. The other blend mode that gives the lips a nice natural look is Hue. This mode is the most subtle. Try experimenting with other colors. Click on the color in the adjustment layer, and when the color picker opens, choose another color. Let's try Fuchsia. It's a bit garish, but we can adjust it with other adjustment layers. Press Control or Command as you click on the lips layer mask. This will call up its selection. Click on the adjustment layer icon and choose Brightness and Contrast. Place your cursor between the two adjustment layers. When you see this clipping mask icon, press Alt or Option as you click. This will slide the top adjustment layer to the left. If you don't do this, this adjustment layer won't work. You can also click on this icon to do the same thing. Adjust the brightness and contrast until you're happy with the results. Using this simple method of applying a solid color adjustment layer and then changing its blend mode is quick and effective. This is Marty from Blue Lightning TV. Thanks for watching.
Okay. Any questions?
Mm-mm.
Did they seem like reasonably simple enough for you?
Mm-hmm.
Good. All right. So again, this particular one here, I'm going to copy because, well, actually, I don't need to copy that because if you go to this one here, I think, let's see, which one was it? It was this one right there. Nope. Wait a minute. Back. Yeah. On this one, Photoshop Eyes, it's the next one down. Okay. So again, when you go in and you take a look at this, you might watch both of them because both of these apply very well to the girl. I mean, you might want to go in and do this effect to the eyes or an effect very similar to that. I'm going to do something similar to it myself. And the lips. So those are my two or my three videos for you for tonight. and this is next. So, all right. So now the two projects that you're going to be working on is this family, this shot right here. Let's see what I got here. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. So this is the actual photograph. This is one of the photographs. And as you can see, there's a whole lot of different little spotting here, all this junk and garbage on this photo. And then there's this huge area here where it's been damaged. This is going to be a lot of fun. Wait till you get into trying to fix that. Your eyes will go crossed. But at any rate, if you take your time and do a little at a time and don't go too fast and be patient with it, I mean, you can get something fairly reasonable. And again, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm just looking for, to give it a good shot. When I say good shot, if it comes out looking ridiculous, I might knock a little bit of points off on you. But, I'll try to work with you. I'll try to help you out as much as I can, because I know how hard this is. So this is my fix. And there's another one out here. I don't know. This is actually, I think, my fix. So I don't know what this is. I got a second level of fixing here. I'm not exactly sure why that is. There's one fix. I don't think I did a tremendous job here, although it does look fairly believable. Let me see. I think this one actually looks a little bit better. Again, it looks a whole lot better. Let's put it this way. It looks a whole lot better than that. Okay? So that is the first project. I'm going to demonstrate this in a minute, how to do a little bit of this. And the other one here is the girl. Let me just quickly show you. Here's the girl. And basically what I did with the girl is this is what she looks like. She looks like this. So I came in and I created a cleanup layer where I removed a lot of the stuff. Then I came in here and I created a blur layer. And what I did was I tried to smooth out some of the skin tones that I thought myself looked a little bit rough. See how her skin looks a little bit rough? Mm-hmm. I kind of did a bit of a blurring. Again, going by what we talked about last week, I try not to overdo it. Like Marty's was a little overdone. I try to be a little bit more subtle with it. And leave a little bit of the real skin. This is not a Vogue model shoot here. So, again, you want it to be somewhat reasonably realistic looking. And then I think what I did was I came in and I played around with the eyes. You can see I did something with the eyes here. Okay, so I'll show you how I did that. I got the hue saturation layer here that if you click on the hue saturation layer, I could come in here now and I could play around with the eyes. As you can see, I'm changing the color of the eyes, very much like what Marty did. So you're going to want to do that, and I'll show you a little bit about that. And I think what this was is, I'm not sure what this was. This doesn't look like it's working very well.
It's the lip. There's something changing about the lip.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know whether I agree with it too much. Let's see. Then there's this thing here, which I was experimenting with a little bit to get a more, I guess a more.
You gave it a lighting effect.
Yeah, I gave it a bit of a lighting effect, and again, these are all options, things I fool around with. And then here's the lips. I played around with the lips, and then again with the lips, what I did was played around like Marty did with the hue saturation layer, and you can see I can come in here now and I can modify the colors of the lips and come up with different color lips. So that's essentially her. So I'm going to do a little bit of that. But before I do that, I would like to talk to you guys about the difference between a JPEG and a PSD. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, Open. And I'm going to go in, let's go to my desktop, and let's go to DES Image Editing. Here we go, week 2, okay. And the image 10004. This is the image that you're going to actually work on. And I want you to see what it says, image type JPEG. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I click on that, I hit Open. Now, there it is, image 10004.jpg. Okay, so here you have a JPEG. It's in Photoshop. Now, just so that you understand, you cannot save a layered file as a JPEG. Do you guys know that? Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Yeah, you can't save a JPEG with a layered file. So if you're going to turn this into a project that you're going to work on, you then have to create the PSD file for it. So what you would do is you would go File, Save As, and you would make sure that you're in, I'm in DES 104, Image Editing Week 2. And I'm going to call this thing, and actually, you know what? Let me go to my desktop because I actually created that folder for it. Let's go to desktop, and let me find lesson. There we go. Open this up, and we're going to call this dogs. D-O-G-S, dogs. Call it dogs. And the save as type, that's the important thing here. Save as type, we're going to set it to be a Photoshop PSD. Okay? So does everybody see what I'm doing here?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you guys a question. When you actually were in doing this, is this how you went about doing it?
We
Yeah.
started off making a PSD file in the last class, or last module.
Right. Well, the point I'm making is some of you had trouble getting your file to upload. Did you actually do this step?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's make the PSD and it's dogs and hit save. Okay, so now this says dogs.psd. Okay, and if we were to go into that folder right now, this would be in there and it would be a PSD file. That PSD file is the file that you're going to send me. Now, right now, this is nothing more than, let's go to the layers menu. This is nothing more than a JPEG that's just, the file format has been changed. We haven't done anything yet to it. So what we want to do is we want to turn this into a Photoshop project. And I think the way to do this is, for me at least, I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this layer Touch Up. Now again, you can do this, you don't have to do this. The reason I'm doing this is because sometimes when you retouch things, things go a little bit awry on you. And I find that if I were to just work on the background layer, this background layer here, I would be doing what they call destructive editing, which means that essentially that photo right there will be modified. It'll be destroyed. It's not necessarily destroyed, but they call it destructive editing because it's actually changing that particular layer, which is that particular image. By doing touch-up work on top of it, on a layer above it, it's on a separate layer. That background layer doesn't get touched at all. So it gives me less of a problem if I do something incorrect. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a good idea to work this way, so I'm going to do that. I create my touch-up layer, and then essentially there's two tools that I think you're going to find you're going to work with here. First of all, you select the touch-up layer. That's what the touch-up layer should look like. It should be highlighted like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use two tools primarily to fix this photo. I honestly don't think there's another tool that does much good for you in this case. I think you're pretty much going to be working with these two tools pretty much through the course of doing this. And those two tools basically, it's right here. It's the healing brush tool. And then I also use this guy right here, the clone stamp tool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now the only difference between the clone stamp tool and the spot healing brush tool, okay, is that you have to make sure, this is very important, on the spot healing brush tool, you have to make sure that you have sample all layers checked. Why is that? Because essentially you're using the background layer as the sampler for your touch-up. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so make sure that you have the touch-up layer selected and you have sample all layers selected. And now notice that I get that little, it looks sort of like a four-leaf clover kind of a thing. And if you remember what they said in the video, you know you have those two brackets, the left and the right bracket. And if I want to make that bigger, I made it smaller. If I make it bigger, I choose the I guess it's the left bracket. If I want to make it smaller, I choose the right bracket. So what I generally do with this is I generally come in and I zoom in a little bit on this. Let's not go nuts here, Bill. Yeah, I zoom in a little bit on this, and I then set my clone stamp, my spot healing brush stamp, to about the size, a little bit bigger than the size that I need, and then I click. And well, it seems to be doing a pretty weak job. There, okay, so I guess you got to move it just a little bit. I don't know, it shouldn't have to move it at all. Anyway, and then what I do is I just come around and I look for the spots. For some reason, this thing doesn't want to do a really good job tonight. It's not working thoroughly quickly. And you just work around and find all these little imperfections and just kind of run across them once or twice with this tool, and you'll ultimately make all of those little spots and imperfections go away. Now, you've got a problem right here by her face. This is going to be tricky. And I don't think, although that's
going to run into her hair.
Yeah, it does do that.
Her mouth.
Yeah, it tends to get a little garbled up in there. It gets a little bit confused by this. So in that case, that's where I would come in, and I would come and get my my clone stamp tool, and I would again set the size of that very small, and then I would come in, and with this you have to set a place for your cloning to take place, and you do that by holding I have a PC, so it's the Alt key. If you have a Mac, it's the Option key. And you see how when I hold down the Option or the Alt key, you see how the little device changes, the look changes?
Mm-hmm.
That's the targeter. And if you click now and then go up and move in, you'll see that what I'm doing is I'm actually cloning the area.
From where you took the sample.
That's right. And then if I come here and click there, I can come down here and I can clone down there. And if I work hard enough at it, it is a little bit tricky to do, especially on a face like this. It's very, it really fights you a little bit. But you can actually, let's see if I can maybe, oh, I'm hitting the wrong.
I would zoom in on it a little bit more.
I'm hitting
for
the key.
especially small areas like that.
Well, let's try it. Let's zoom in a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and let's try it again. Let's come in here. Oh, and there's another thing, too, that he didn't do that I tend to do. Oh, you see the flow here? I have the flow set to 16%. So I think that's probably a little low for this.
Oh.
I tend to use my flows lower, and it means that I have to do it in more than one shot. But I kind of like that because that way it's a subtler kind of thing that goes on here. Watch what happens. You see what I mean? You see how I can subtly make that kind of go away? And then sometimes I'll bring the flow back up, and like for right about here, I want to click on that area right there because I want to hit that line right about there.
Yeah, you want to bring that chin back in.
There you go. See how I'm getting that chin to come back in? And then maybe click it here and then bring it up a little bit to get rid of that. And you know what? More than likely, if you, again, I would probably drop the flow back down. So it's really a question of playing with this just a little bit to get the kind of results that you're looking for as far as making that face look the right way.
Yeah.
See, now there it's starting to look a little bit better there.
It does.
Now if we go view, fit this thing in window, fit on screen, I mean, there, you see it actually don't look too bad. Okay, so that's really ultimately what you're doing. Now, I want you to also notice that I have the history panel out here. I tend to like to have the history panel out because there are times when I'll make mistakes. And if I use my history panel, I can come back through my history and I can click on any layer. You see how that brought that back?
Yeah.
And I can even, if I want, go all the way back up to the open. And now it's as if I never did anything. Even the layer is gone. You see that, the new layer?
Yeah, you stumped me on that question last week, and I didn't realize it until afterwards.
Yeah. So anyway, there you go. There you go. And I brought it back because again, I want to have that face in there. So really, what you're going to do is you're going to use the quick selection tool. The clone stamp or spot healing brush tool as much as possible. Come in and work the spots. Now you see here again, I ran into a situation. Yeah, you know what's happening? The program is automatically assessing the areas around this clone. And what it's doing essentially is it's saying, hey, there's this hair right there. So that hair maybe is part of what's got to go in there. So when that happens, you just go back to your spot here, healing, and click on that. I mean, go to your history panel and go back one. And then this time come in and get your clone stamp tool, right? And come in here, make it maybe just a little bit bigger. And again, come right about next to it there. And then come down over top of it and click and click and click and click until you come up with that. So this is why I'm saying it's really important for you guys to understand. There's another area that we're going to run into a problem right here in this arm. Now I'm going to try the spot healing on that, but I think I'm going to have a problem with it. Actually, I didn't have too much of a problem. I did have a problem. Can you see it?
Yeah.
All right. So edit, undo, or I'm sorry, clone stamp. Go back here, clone stamp, and let's see. Where do we go here? There we go. I think we want to be right about there. Okay, so in this case, again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to use this guy because this guy can actually do a better job of picking that off because I can pretty much choose where I want this to go. See how that made that much nicer? So again, just keep in mind there are two tools here that I recommend that you use for this, not one, but two, because again, you'll get a better result by utilizing a couple of tools when you're doing this work. Usually I find that, now that's starting to look a little bit better. And I also have this set to 60%. If I brought it all the way up to 100%, I probably would even get a better result. So again, just keep in mind that you're going to be playing around with some settings on this to get the look that you want. There's his arm, I think, looks a lot better. Her face looks okay. And then, of course, you know, basically just come in here and nail the rest of this stuff. I think probably the spot healing brush tool would be okay for a lot of this. But I mean, a lot of this you can just knock right out with this brush right here. Knocks it right out. And sometimes all you have to do is click it. Also, let's see. Yeah, also. Yeah. When it's bigger, I think you have to move around it a little bit. Actually, yeah. See, I'm actually covering both of those in one shot. That's it. So really, you know, the hair, you have a hair situation with this. You might have to drag it to get the hair. Might have to drag it in a direction to get the hair to look right. Drag the hair down a little bit. Here, I don't know. I'd try dragging it up, see whether that does it. Yeah, see, I think you got to drag it a bit. It just, and if it doesn't, if you don't like the result of that, you don't like what's happening with that, again, I would recommend that you come back in here and you get your clone stamp, and you're going to hold down the Alt key. And again, what I like to do with this is I like to knock the flow back a little bit so it isn't quite as heavy in one shot. And then what I do is I generally play with it a little bit See, again, I probably could come down a little bit lighter even. Let's try 28. Let's try that now. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to hide the fact that I was there. That's really what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to hide the fact that I was there by hitting it multiple times. See how it's gradually going away and becoming sort of hidden? There you go. So, I mean, if you really look at it, you might get a sense that something happened in there, but you kind of would have to look. And I could keep working on this. I could just keep playing with this in that general area until I get it to where I want it to look. Let's see what happens over here. Let's go in this front area. This looks like a little spot right there. Let's get that out of there. Okay, now you got a bigger spot over here, although I would tell you right now I wouldn't make it that much bigger. I would try to keep it on a smaller side. See if you can get rid of it with a smaller one. The problem is that it runs into two different things. It runs into that roof and it runs into that tree. But I don't think that's going to matter too much. I think in the end, when you get it done, it'll end up looking fairly reasonable. You just have to keep poking away at it, and eventually you'll get it. And again, if you don't like the result, if you think you could do better, click on this guy a little bit and just come in and pop that a few times. I generally like, and again, don't forget, you adjust the setting here so that it could be stronger or weaker depending upon what you want to do. I tend to like to work with both of them. In this particular case, I think the two tools, here's another place where this will work out. If I click here and then come over here and hit that, you can see it more or less hides it. And if I want to, I can even actually sit over top of that line and watch what happens. It'll even grab that line and it'll move that line over there. And look at that. It can actually transport a little bit of that line over onto that roof, making it kind of seamless. Okay? Here's another area where you could probably grab a little bit of the line, his collar. Let's see, I think I probably want to go this way. Let's try it and see. So I sit over top of his collar with this tool. Again, I'm using the clone tool. Grab the collar, and as you say, it might be a good idea to zoom in a little bit on this. Clone tool, come over top of that, hold down the shift key right below it, right there, and then just hit it right there. And actually that worked out pretty good. And now I come down below it and I start working my way up onto here, removing some of that ripped out shirt. And eventually we can get that shirt to pretty much be gone. There you go. And again, don't look too bad. I don't know what the story is with this thing, but maybe I'll hit that too. There. So, again, play with it. Here's another one. There's a little tiny spot there. Let's see if I can hit that. Let's see what I get when I hit that. Click it there. I just move it a touch up. There you go. There. Look at that. I got rid of that little tiny spot on the ear of that dog. So that's basically it. You're just going to come in here and you're going to adjust the size of this thing, and you're going to work with this guy right here, the clone stamp, and this guy right here, the spot healing. There are other ones in here, but again, I think these two tools for this particular piece will get you exactly where you need to go. Whoops. So that's what I would recommend that you do. Oh, come on, what's the matter here? What's wrong with you? Continue. So, yeah, so why am I getting that? I am trying to sample it.
You're on the spot healing brush. Why are you trying to sample something?
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. That's what the problem is. I'm not really paying attention properly. So there, again, just keep working on this. Now, in the case of this line here, I would just go probably slightly above it and then just come down on it and just work my way across. And if you do that carefully, you'll get pretty much, that line will pretty much go away. You might have to adjust yourself a little bit. You might have to move it over a little bit. Yeah, so that works out pretty good. And then just as I say, keep going, keep coming around on this thing and picking away at all the little stuff. All right, any questions about that?
No.
Now, the big nightmare is this guy up here. And this, you're going to have to do essentially the same thing. You're going to have to come in here and you're going to have to rely on these tools. I would say probably the best thing that you could do is rely on these tools in here, the spot healing brush tool. And again, this is so badly damaged that I don't.
This looks like a perfect example of something that I have done more than once, where I have stuck several photographs back to back in a file, and they've got squished together and then pulled apart.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of what happened here. It just looks like something got stuck to this. You know, photographs originally have surfaces that if they get wet and if they get against a certain kind of material, they'll stick. And then if you try to pull them apart, they'll rip away. And that's sort of what looks like went on here. You can, however, do some things with this. One of the things that you could do is this. I won't call it cheating, but it's one way to deal with this situation. Is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab a whole bunch of this tree, the whole tree. See how I'm grabbing it, making a selection, making this whole tree selected. See how I got that selection?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then I'm going to go up to the select menu, and I'm going to go to modify, and I'm going to go to feather. And what I'll do is I'll feather the edges by about 3 pixels. Now, essentially, all feathering is going to do is it's going to make the edges somewhat blurry, somewhat softer. And I probably should go select modify feather and maybe make it instead of 3. I maybe should make it 5. Let's try that. There. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I'm on the background layer, and I'm going to go layer, new, layer via copy. Okay, so now I have this new layer here, and I'll show it to you.
With only that part of the tree. Yeah.
So it's that tree. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that layer, and I'm going to go edit, transform, flip horizontally. And now I'm going to come back to my background, and I'm going to move that layer over, and I've gotten rid of a nice big chunk. I got to find the spot where it goes. Actually, what I'm going to have to do is, see this area right here? I got that funk going on there. On that layer, I'm going to come in, and I'm going to get the eraser tool, and I'll set it to about 50%. And I'll come in here, and I'll just start erasing a little bit of that edge right there so that I don't have that. See, and now I got something showing through there. So let's see what that is. Let's see what that piece is. That's part of my edge. So, yeah, so now what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to clone some of that piece back. So I'm going to grab this guy here and maybe make it a little bit bigger, and I'll come in and I'll start cloning that back in there until I get that covered up. And I'll probably do the same thing with this. I'll find a spot that doesn't offend me too much, and I'll start cloning this away on that layer as well. Why is it not working? Am I on the right layer here? Let me see here. What's going on? Yeah, why it's not showing there, I don't know.
Don't you have to do it on the touch-up layer? Because
well, I can
do
it on the touch-up layer, but I actually was working on that piece layer. So let's do it on the touch-up layer because that works. There we go. Okay, so now I've got a little bit more of that tree done. So then what you would do is you probably would want to take this layer. Let's see what I bring it, that layer up above. There we go. Bring that layer up above it. Now what I can do is with that layer like that, watch what I hide this. See what I mean? See how I've got that tree built back in there? Then what I want to do is I want to start putting back some of this other stuff. The other thing that you could do here is you could start taking this. Remember, you're on to be on a touch-up layer. You're going to come in here and you're going to start, let's make this a little bit bigger. You're going to start stealing a little bit of this background area, and you're going to start putting it in. Try to kind of fake it on across here. Okay, it's really tricky because this is, you know, you're cheating to a very large degree. But that's essentially what you want to do, is you want to come in here. Let me make that a little bit bigger. Make that a little bit bigger, and let's go a little bit lower, and let's grab that much of it and come over here. See what I'm doing essentially? I'm trying to rebuild something that looks like believable. You get the idea generally?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you're going to do. You're just going to very slowly, very methodically take your time. There's no hurry. Take your time and kind of work your way across this thing, okay? And, you know, change the level of flow on it so that you get different. See how I feathered that in a little bit? It makes it almost like a little more believable. Oh, and then, by the way, you're going to run into a problem like this right here where you've got that little mark right there. So you're going to come in and you're going to pop that in and cover that up. Probably should have brought my flow back up to do that. Let's bring the flow back up. And right about next to it, let's go over to about here. And let's hit that there. There we go. And that's gone. And again, you'd probably do something just like that here to get rid of that, I guess, if you want to get rid of that way. Or, again, come back here and use this guy right here. All right? You just keep cleaning it up, cleaning this thing up, cleaning all this little junk away. Some of it will be very easy to do. There's a line here. Looks like it's kind of a... So really, there's a whole lot of this that you can clean up, all right? And I don't know what this is going to do with this. Let's see what that does with it. Not too bad. Yeah, that worked okay. It's I'm starting to pick up the white over here. So in that case, what I would do is I would come in and I would get my clone tool and make it a little bit smaller, and I would start cloning in this area. You got to be real careful doing this because this will come off looking really strange if you're not careful. Oh, yeah, I have it set right. Okay. And just start working your way across this and try to change the positioning. Change your positioning. I don't know, that didn't quite give me much of a grab there. There we go. Try to change your positioning so that you get something that looks reasonably real. This is, again, not the easiest thing to do. It's pretty tricky to do this to make it look believable. Okay? But you're just going to slowly work your way around. I mean, this is not something that you can do in 5 minutes. It'll take you a little time to do this and to do it convincingly. Okay? So that's essentially what you're going to do. You just keep plugging away at it until you finally get it gone. See how I'm sort of making it look sort of like what's going on in the background? The problem, of course, is that it knocks out such a huge part of the background that it doesn't give you an awful lot of target to work with. You know what I mean? It kind of makes it a little bit difficult because you're not really getting a great deal of background to work with here. It's really making it hard on you to do this. That's why I'm saying, I mean, I can be pretty forgiving with this. I would like to see you make a good effort, though, if you could do that. I'd like to see you make a good, honest effort at it. But I do know how hard it is because I've done it myself. And it does take a tremendous amount of time to do this. So I do appreciate that. But again, please try to do your best. Give it a shot and see what you come up with. You know, again, if you keep going at this, you got two things here. You can see I'm starting to get it down, okay? But that's essentially what you want to do there, okay? So do you think I showed you guys enough? Do you guys got any questions about this?
Did you save how far you got on the cat? I saw the cat in it.
I gave up almost right away because the thing is, first of all, it's blurry. Second of all, it's way too dark. Third of all, you can't see one of its eyes, and it's completely covered with all kinds of junk. So, I mean, it's really a mess. I mean, it just isn't a good photo.
I've seen it.
Yeah, have you? Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you feel emboldened to do it, go play with it and have fun. I mean, to me, it was just torture. And I mean, even this was torture because again, it's sort of like this isn't what I do. I don't do this kind of work, and so I mean, there are people who do this kind of work and they're excellent at it. You know, I do other things. I mean, I'll show you later on when we get to the. I'll show you what I'm talking about when we get to the other project. So here's what I'm going to do just for now. So I'm going to come in now and I'm going to go File, Save As. And this is in the Desktop Lessons folder. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down and save it as a JPEG. So this is going to be dogs JPEG and hit Save.
Well, you don't want to say the PSD first where you
already
left
did.
off?
I already
Okay.
did. I already did. And then I'm going to go File,
Well, it has the star beside of it. Or
File, Save.
asterisk.
Well, watch. I'll show you. Hit OK.
Okay.
And then I'm going to close this. Okay. And I guess I'll close this guy too. And save changes. No. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into my desktop real quickly. And here's my lessons. So what I want you to see basically is here's the JPEG. That's the JPEG. So you would, now of course this would be all fixed and finished, but this shows you my work. There's the JPEG that you would send me. And here's the PSD that you would send me. Does everybody got that? Are you guys all good with that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So is this how you guys tried to do it last time?
Yeah.
Okay. And you couldn't upload that PSD?
I could upload the PSD, but you couldn't see it.
So here's the other way that you could try to do this. What I'm on a PC, so what I would do is I would select both of those, and then I would right-click, and I would send to compress zip folder. And then I have my compressed zip folder, and you would name it, you know, however you would name it, okay? And then you would send me that compressed zip folder. Hopefully that will work. So if that's the case, try it that way.
Okay.
All right?
I had, in a prior mod, one of my professors say that they had to approve zip files. Do you know if they have approval to submit zip files for this module?
Sometimes the course limits what you can submit to me, but I have to tell you something. It seems to me, and I'm pretty sure I'm right on this, at least one or two of the students last week submitted zip folders to me. So
That's good.
my thinking is that if they could do it, then anybody could do it. You know what I mean? Because you're all doing it the same basic way. So yeah, somebody did send me one that way, and I'm sure was even more than one. I got them. I remember opening up the zip folder. So I'm just saying, if you run into that problem, that's another way that you can handle it. Okay?
Good.
All right. Well, now let's move on to the next thing here, and that is this. I want to show you real quickly type on a path before I start with her. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in here now, and I'm going to actually create a shape. I'm going to use my ellipse tool, come in, and I got to create, let's get to a layer here. New layer. And let's create a shape. So I create a shape. I got a shape. Okay, so I got a shape here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and get the text tool. I don't do this all the time. And I click on, let's see if I can get it. Up, Control Z. All right, let's see. No, that didn't work. Hold on. I think what I got to do is, I think I actually, give me a second here. There we go. And let's get rid of that. I think I actually have to change this to a path. There we go. Okay, so select your shape. Change it to a path. Then you're going to click and you're going to drag to create a shape. I'm just going to create this shape right there. And now I have a path. See it? It doesn't want to drag, but come on. Where's my layer? Maybe I have to move it with the arrow. No, it doesn't even want to move.
They don't like to move when they don't have any stroke or fill on them for some reason in Photoshop. Photoshop.
Well, I'd like to be able this is why I don't really do this. I generally do all this work in Illustrator, but at any rate, you can do it in here. So now that I've got this path, what I can do is select my type tool, and I can come in here and I can come over that. Now, I want you to see, there's your type tool. That's what the regular type tool looks like. See it?
It should get that little squiggly line, right?
Yeah, it's got a little cross between it now. But when I move it over top of the path, you see it changes.
There's the squiggle.
There you go. So this is the reason I'm doing this is I want you to see that when you go to create type on a path, you're looking for that little change there. Then you can click, and now I've placed that text, which is humongous. Let's go down to like 12 point. Let's go a little bit bigger than that. Let's go to 48 point. That's probably pretty good. And one of the things that you might want to do is, let's see what we got here. This is my my paragraph. So I actually got it set. The paragraph, I got it set to center align. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type on a path. So there's type on a path. That's all there is to it. And, you know, you can come in, you can change the color, you know, and get whatever you're looking for. And you can select the path, select the type. Let's see if I can select a path here. Now I can move it. Now it suddenly will allow me to move it. But I'm trying to remember how I moved it on the path. I think I got
because there's something on it now.
Yeah, but I should be able to move it. I should be able to rotate it on the path. Oh, wait a minute.
I had that same problem last week.
Wait a minute. Hold on. It's the, where are we at here? This is a tool. Oh. What tool was it? Here we go. There it is. That's it right there, I think. No, actually, that's not it. Nope.
That's going to change the shape of your path. That's
not it.
Direct select tool.
Path selection tool. There we go. Now I can change it. It's a path selection tool.
Now you're rotating it.
That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to show you that you can rotate it. I also want to show you that you could put it on the inside by just dragging it in. See, this is the same, it's kind of the same way that you do it in Adobe Illustrator, but I have to be honest with you, I'm so much more comfortable doing it in Adobe Illustrator because that's when I'm always doing this work. I do it there. I very seldom ever do this sort of thing in Photoshop. I generally do all that work in Illustrator. But it's basically, you're using the path selection tool, and you're using the ellipse tool. In this case, I use the ellipse tool. Make sure that you use path. And then what you're going to do is you're going to get your type tool, which is, where did it go? There. And you're going to just use the regular old type tool. But when you sit over top of this, and now it's not going to do it because it's already got type on that path, it will give you that curving line. You click, and then you've got your type on that path. Okay?
Could I ask a question?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Can you go back to the ellipse tool and create a shape?
You want what kind of a shape?
Just an ellipse. Okay. Because I thought I saw something, and I rarely do type in either in Photoshop either, but I thought I saw something.
All right, so I'll create a shape. I'll come in here, and you want an ellipse?
Sure.
Okay.
But not a path, an actual shape.
A shape?
Uh-huh. Not a path.
Okay. All right, so let me undo that. Where is it? Which layer is it? Okay. Now, there's a path. You want a path or a shape?
Shape.
Yes. Okay, so you got a shape. Okay, so you want a shape. Now, the shape is going to have a fill, and I have to choose a color for the fill. So let me just hit yellow. And now I click in here, and I drag and make myself a shape. So there's your shape.
Okay, now, all right, it's not there this time. It was there when there was no fill, no.
Well, look, Do you notice now that with this shape,
Now it's grayed out,
well,
but
it's not
there's
now.
your squiggle
And
again.
watch this. If I click on it, I've actually placed text on that.
On that shape, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So essentially, you know, I've got the text on that path there, and I'll get my selection tool, and I should be able to take this thing now, and I should be able to move it around a little bit and get that to center. Okay. But again, I don't know that I would do that. I don't think that I would actually do that.
I wouldn't color it in.
Yeah.
But when
What you
you
could
have
do, here's something
no
that you could
feel, I saw it up top across the top bar.
Well, here's something else that you could do. You could drag it on the inside, okay, and bring it down to the bottom. Let me get it to where I want it. That's probably good enough. And what you could do is you could come in here and you could offset the path. And you could go like negative, let's go negative 30 and enter. Whoops, I went the wrong way. Let's go 30. I want to go in.
Right.
There, you see what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then of course you'd have to set the tracking a little bit.
To offset the fact that you moved it and pushed it inward.
That's right. So you see what I'm saying? You could actually set text inside of the path like that, which is kind of cool. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, there's a lot of things that you could do to play with this. I just don't know, you know, how far you want to go with it. It's mostly just really text settings here. I mean, basically what I did was I did the baseline shift. All right. I'm sorry, not baseline shift. Baseline shift. And I did this, which is the tracking. So I set the tracking to 75 and the baseline shift 30 points, which sent it that way. If I went negative 30, it would send it the other way. So do it either one of those two ways. This kind of looks interesting if you had some reason for doing it. You know, like maybe you wanted to make a smiley face with words instead of just a line, you know. So, but I don't know. It's up to you. That's just what I'm saying is one of the things that you got to do this week is doing the text on a path. So that's all I need to see. You do something like this, and I will give you your grade because that's really all it's about. Don't need any more than that. You guys think you could handle that?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody got a problem with it? No? Everybody's quiet.
I'm good.
Anybody there?
No problem.
Okay. All right. So that's that. I guess what we can do now is go back to my layers and let's get rid of that. And let's get rid of that. Okay. So now I got her. And basically what I'm going to do is let me open up a new one. Let's go File, Open. Open. And let's go to Desktop. And let's go to Image Editing, Week 2, and let's find the girl. Harley Before, hit Open, there's Harley Before. So as you can see, Harley's got a lot of issues going on with her skin, and we're going to try to clean some of it up. To be totally honest with you, what that guy showed you in his video actually works very well for this particular photo. So the first thing I'm going to do is, again, what is it? Look, it's Harley Before JPEG. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to go File, Save As, and I want to call this Harley Bill, and we're going to change the format from JPEG to PSD and hit Save. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, and what he did with his was Quick Selection Tool. He came in and he kind of selected her face and her skin, and you could see I went a little too far. So by holding down the Alt key or the Option key, I'm holding the Alt key because, again, I'm on a PC. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to remove some of this stuff that I don't want. See, try to get rid of some of this and just get her skin, which probably that's pretty good. Yeah, I don't need to worry about that. And maybe I could grab, well, I actually don't think I need to worry about that too much. I might want to get that eye, though. Whoops, I went the wrong way, sorry. I may want to get that eye. Let me get that eye right there. That's probably pretty good right there. Okay, so now I have that. And what he did was he went to select Refine Edge. And I see I got some of this stuff out here. So what I want to do is I want to hit, let's refine the, let me hit cancel. And let's see if I can get rid of that.
Did you forget the inverse, or did he inverse for after?
I didn't inverse. I don't think I need to inverse this because I want to get, I want to get her skin. I just want to get her skin and I want to get it cleaned up. See, that's actually, there we go. I think I want to get that included there. That's good. So let's go select Refine Edge. Yeah, that's what we want. And he went Smart Radius here, and he pulled the Smart Radius out a little bit, and he just went around this way a little bit like this. Okay, and he's getting some of that hair. See what he's doing? I'm just kind of, softening up that edge there. There, some of that edge, and I don't really think I even need all that. Okay, so now I got this, and I am going to go OK. And what I can do here is go layer new, layer via copy, and now I got a copy. There's the layer. There's the copied layer. Now he did it another way, but I have it there. And then he went into the filter, and he went to blur, and he went to surface blur. And then he came in and he decided on what his surface blur was. I think he was somewhere around 14 anyway. I think that's a little extreme.
16.
16. I think this is too airbrushed looking.
That is too airbrushed.
I think the threshold, I think it was the threshold. That's what it was. I don't remember what his threshold was, but I'm going to set the threshold much lower. I'm going to go down to about there, and let's bring the radius up to, let's try it 16 radius. Okay, and we need to bring the threshold down. No, we need to bring the threshold up. I need to bring it up just a little bit more. Yeah, see, it's beginning to get, see how it's beginning to get too soft?
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably say about there will do it. Okay, which, by the way, if you take a look at this, it is gone a good distance, hasn't it?
But she still looks natural.
Yeah. So then what you're going to do is, I'd hide this first of all, because that one's actually pretty good. Now you've got problems like your blemishes and things. Like you've got this hair here. So what I would do is I'd come in and I'd see if I could get rid of that hair. Let's see if I could get that hair out of here, because you don't really want that hair. You're going to make the hair go away, and it looks like there might be a little mark there you want gone. You want to get rid of that. Let's get rid of that hair. So you're going to come in, you're going to knock off some of this obvious stuff, and come in here and get some of the bigger things, and, and see another hair. You don't want those stray hairs. You want them gone. And they sometimes fight you a little bit, but you get rid of them eventually. There you go. A little bit of this hair up here you want to get rid of. You see what I mean? Just knock it away. Get rid of it. And I don't know what's going on with that spot right there, but try to get that out of there as well. Yeah, it looks like it's going away grudgingly. So you're going to just come in here and remove the biggest things, the most obvious things. That's really what it is. You don't want to knock everything away because you don't want it to be unnatural looking. And, again, I think what he did was he came in here and he used the blur tool, and he set the blur tool down, and he ran over this thing with the blur tool in certain spots to try to blur out some of the bigger elements. See, I'm sort of trying to blur them in a little bit, soften them in a little bit, trying not to overdo it. Just try to blur it back a little bit. She's got a scar here, or a mole. I might be able to just come back in here and make this go away like that. There we go. And let's see if I get rid of that. There we go. That's not too bad. And the hard part is, if you want to get rid of her, you decide you want to get rid of her, her whatchamacallit here, her lip ring. You may want to get rid of her lip ring. Let me get this. See if I can use this tool to maybe knock this little dark spot out there. Okay, that's not too bad. Am I okay? Are you guys okay with what I'm doing here? Are you guys having any problems with this?
Mm-mm.
See what I'm doing? I'm all I'm doing is coming in here and I'm cleaning her up as much as I can. Don't forget, I got the blur layer. When you bring the blur layers back, you got some stuff on the blur layer that you're going to have to deal with too. See, you got a couple of things here on the blur layer. I know one thing he did that I didn't do is I didn't save my selection. So if I had saved my selection, oops, I'm sorry. Select, deselect. I keep grabbing the wrong tool because I'm busy talking and not paying attention to what I'm doing. You know, it's one thing to do something, but it's another thing to pay attention to what you're doing. Usually when I'm doing this, I'm paying attention. Here I'm not. I'm talking. And it makes it easier. You notice too that even on this blur layer, I still get a little bit of that hair showing. So I got to get that air out of there. See? So I'm working a little bit on the blur layer as well. I'm just coming in here and grabbing some things that I see that are sticking out at me on the blur layer, and I'm going to knock them away as much as I can. So, you know, it's starting to look okay. It'll probably do. Let's see if that's on the lower layer and the upper layer. Some of this is on the upper layer. And you can also try a little bit of this with it. You know, try a little bit of that with it. Whoops, I'm starting to get messy. And I probably should be using a less flow. That's why sometimes these flows, if you play with the flow level, you'll find that you get a much better result, much nicer result if you play around with the flow just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so that's, you know, again, you just keep playing with it and playing with it. The one thing, though, let's see what this is doing on that layer. Yeah, it's on both layers. So, unfortunately, I should have done this. This should have been the first thing that I got rid of, this mouth. So I'm going to have to remove this on both layers. So I probably am not going to bother doing it on both layers because it's just too much work. I'm going to show you how I got rid of it. I started off working with this tool here on the base layer, and it really didn't do a tremendously great job. It sort of laboriously got rid of it. So that's when I went in and I grabbed the clone tool, and I made the clone tool kind of small, and I set the setting up rather high, and then I came in and sampled and started walking across with the clone tool to get rid of that.
You're okay if we leave it in, right?
Yeah, of course. I'm just doing it because, you know, it's there. See, I'm just trying to show you that you ultimately can do it, you know. If you try hard enough, you can get it out of there. And one more thing that you might want to do with this, once you get the thing around here, is just work your way across and work your way down, make it go away, bring some of the detail in over top of it. Then the other thing that you might want to do is increase the size and come over to about here and click on there and then come in and then click over here and bring it in. See, and it'll gradually make that go away. I didn't really, okay, that's not too bad. And bring this over here. Let's see if I can find a spot where I can get something I like. I'm getting darkness in there that I don't like really. And let's try this. There we go. It's pretty much gone. Let's go view, fit, and window. View, fit on screen. There you go. So, I mean, you know, it's gone enough that ultimately, and watch what happens when I bring this back. There, it's back. So, okay. So again, whether you take it away or whether you keep it, it's totally up to you. You know? And then what I did, I made her lips and I made her eyes. I did this slightly differently. What I did generally is I came in here. You can try doing it with the quick selection tool. You can quick select the eyes, and now I got too much of the eye. I can remove the top part of the eye, bring it down a little bit more, try to bring it down a little bit more. Now if you have too much trouble with this, what I do a lot of times is I'll come in and I'll take a look at the eye, and then I'll do a combination of things. You can come in here and you could use more than one tool. You can actually use the polygon tool and you can add to the selection. Okay, so I can come in here now and I can add to this selection like this. See how I'm adding to the selection? Come in and add to that selection. And if I want to, watch this. There, I've added to that selection, and I can hit the Alt key, come in here, and I can remove something from the selection as well. See? So now I've got her eye. And if I want, I can come over here, and I can add to this selection by clicking here and clicking here and just walking around. So there's many ways to do this. That's what I'm trying to point out. Click on this and come around here and just walk around and select her eye. There we go. And then if I want to make a mask, I can click and make a mask, okay, and drag the mask to a new layer. Let's bring it all the way up to the new layer here. Bring it up to a new layer. There we go. Now let's try this now. Let's see what we get if we paint over top of those eyes. Let's see if I can pick a color here. Let's pick a blue, okay? And let's click on this, and let's come over here with our brush tool and click on that, and I got him in there. I don't know why I got brown, but that's okay because I can change the color easily enough. Click on that, and now click on it, and I got blue, and I got blue. There we go. And now, so you can see what I got now is I got blue eyes. So then I can come in and play around with my color, or I can play around with my hue, or I can play around with my overlay, you know, and I can change the value of its opacity. And then what I can do is, with that layer selected, I can come down here and I can click on hue and saturation. And let me bring this over so you can see what's going on here. Hue and saturation is a layer effect. You guys, am I going too fast? Are you okay with what I'm doing here? Does it
I'm good.
I'm good.
Good. Okay, so what I can now do is, since I got a color started here, I can come in and I can start playing with the color. Oh, by the way, you see how that affected everything?
You didn't option click
I didn't
to
come
connect
over
it.
here and hold down the Alt key. When I hold the Alt key down, there's your hue saturation layer, and there's layer 2. That layer is not associated with that layer. That layer is associated with every layer. When I click between those two layers, holding the Alt key down or the Option key down, then what it does is it makes it only associated with that layer directly below it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, and now I can come in here and I can play around with the color. That's kind of a nice color. I had a nice brown there a second ago. That's a nice color. And then I can play around with the lightness or the darkness of it, and I can play around with the saturation, and I can change the color. So if I go View, Fit Artboard, or Fit on Screen, you get a much better idea. Let's hide that layer and see what it looks like. It looks like that, or actually let's hide that layer. And that's the actual color of her eyes. And we could come in here and we can make them eyes much browner, which kind of looks great, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's essentially it. And it's almost the same way the other guy did it. It's a slightly different way to go. So, I mean, I'm just trying to show you, there's not just one way to do this. And then one other thing that I'll do very quickly is I'll do some lips for you. So let's come in and let's get the lips up close. And what I'm going to do is the same thing. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to use my polygon lasso tool because I tend to like to work with the polygon lasso tool myself. So I'm going to come out here and I'm going to come pretty high on these lips. I want to get all the lips in there. And I'm just going to follow them around pretty closely. It doesn't have to be 100% closely because I'm going to soften the edge before I'm done. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do the entire lips. Work my way right around the lips. Give me a second. Let me just do this. And I'm not going to go to the trouble. I'm not going to go to the trouble of doing a lot of carving over top of this lip ring. I won't carve that out because, again, well, actually, I could do that, I suppose. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key now and just come in here and click and just cut that out. I guess I will do it. See, I'm cutting it out essentially. There we go. It's out. Okay, so that's how I get my lips. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the select menu. I could either go refine edge, and I could look at this and I could play around with the feathering of it. Okay, and that's probably too much feathering. Let's try making it like 1. That's too much too. 1, 6. 1. It's probably pretty good. And let's shift the edge in a little bit. There, that's probably good. Hit OK. Okay, so now I've got this, and I'm going to click and create a new layer up here. And on that layer, I'm going to create a layer mask. Okay? And that layer mask, I don't know whether you could see it or not, but can you see that there's a little white thing that's showing in the middle of that layer mask? Can you see it? That's the lips. It actually had the selection, and it turned it into the actual layer mask. So now what I'm going to do is come in here, and I'm going to set it to be a color. Let's set it to be another oddball color. Let's click on, let's make them green, and hit OK. And then I'm going to come in here, select my layer, not the layer mask. I'm going to select the layer, and then I'm going to use my paintbrush tool to come in here, and I'm going to paint that, and I decided it wants to be blue. Okay, so it's going to be blue. So now what I'm going to do is come in here with my layer selected. I'm going to choose hue with that, see what that looks like. Or let's go with luminosity. And that doesn't look real good. Color. There we go. Color. And let's maybe knock the opacity down a little bit. And then again, we're going to come in here with a layer effect. Click on hue saturation. And remember what I told you, to apply it to the layer right below it, you're going to hold down the Alt or the Option key and click. And then basically what you're going to do is you're going to come in and you're going to change the hue. There's the hue changing. There we go. That's a nice one. And then I can come down here and I could desaturate it, or I can lighten it. There we go. And go view, fit on screen. And if I want to bring the color back up, bring it up a little bit. There we go. So there you have it. You've got some lipstick on her, and you've got some eyes done to it. So what do you think? You guys think you can handle that?
Yep.
All right. I got a half hour. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to get rid of Harley. Are you guys good with this? Any questions or anything at all on either one of them?
I had a question about how you did the lighting on the one you did.
What lighting? The one that I did. What do you mean?
On
The lighting source on the original one you showed us that you had done.
Let me go back to that. Let me see. Get out of here. No. This one here?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I used the retouch here. So all I did essentially, let's open it up and take a look. I think what I did here was clean up smooth color overlay. I think that's what it was. No, wait a minute. Let me see. How did I do that? Smooth screen, normal. Screen. I'm trying to remember how I did it. Screen. Let's see, where would that be? Just give me a second to kind of figure myself out here. Blur. Okay. Eyes. There. It's not that. Hue saturation. It's not that. Let's go up a little higher. So it's in here. It's
Open the effects panel.
I just got color overlay, but that's for the eyes. Hit cancel. I'm trying to remember exactly.
But what did you have selected in the cover
Well, that's what
overlay
I'm
panel?
trying to remember what I did. I know it's in the retouch layer, because when I hide it, you see what I mean? It goes away.
Right.
But I'm not seeing I'm not clicking on anything. There's the original, and there's the cleanup, and there's the blur, and it's not doing anything with any of them. That's what's throwing me off. I'm trying to remember where I did that. And
It's in
there
the
it is. Smooth. It's smooth. Okay, so smooth. Let's see what smooth is. Okay, so I set it to screen. Let's set it to normal. But it still isn't doing it.
Click on color overlay and see what settings you applied when you hit in the effects panel.
What are you talking about?
Okay.
No, it's on this layer. It's on, see, it's on the smooth layer. It's on this.
Well, then I don't know what you did.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at
Maybe
this-
you color burned. Did you burn?
I don't
or
remember
cut-
exactly. I
sides
don't
is
exactly remember. You see, let's go to, let me see. Let's think about it for a second here.
Because
See,
that's
if
the
I had
only
done an
other thing I
effect,
can
if I had done
think of.
something like this, I had played with brightness and contrast. There, that's one way. You see how I'm doing it? Brightness and contrast.
Yeah, I see.
Okay, so if you apply, let's do this. Let's hide that layer. Let's go to the other blur layer.
Or go back up through your history.
Just a minute. I want to go to that blur layer. Let's try that. Okay, so if I take that blur layer and if I apply a brightness and contrast to that blur layer, let's try that and see what that does. Yeah, the only problem is, of course, that it's now showing me the,
All the things you...
yeah, let me do this. Let me try that. There, but it's still showing me the cleanup. Let me hide the cleanup for a minute. Yeah, it's still showing me the cleanup. Actually, I think what I'd have to do is I'd have to duplicate that layer. And let's remove that. All right, let's get rid of that, actually. All right, so I got that blur layer here, and I got this blur layer here. Let's move it up a little bit. I have to bring it up there. Try that. Okay, and now let's try it and see if that does it. Brightness and contrast. Oh, that's sort of doing it. That's sort of doing it. Although, it's not doing it exactly the same way. See, but it is kind of doing it. Let's try levels. Let's try.
That's possible.
Let's try levels. See, I don't remember exactly how I did it. I did it one way or the other. I'm just not sure which. Oh, there you go. Levels. Levels. See what I did?
Yeah, okay.
I set a levels adjustment on that layer. You
But
see?
it would show in...
Now, what I did was I
The
set
layer.
the mid-range. I set the mid-range darker. This is in levels. What you have is you have the white, which is highlights. See how I'm bringing the highlights up?
Yeah, I see.
So I bring the highlights up a little bit, and this is the darks, the shadows. I'm not bringing the shadows up that much, although actually it doesn't look too bad. What I did was I played around with the mid-range. See? So now watch what happens when I come over here and I hide that levels. You see what it does?
Yeah.
It
makes
gives you that look. So that's probably how I did it.
But wouldn't it show up on your... in your
It
layers
didn't show up
panel
on the other one. You know what I might have accidentally done? I might have actually flattened that layer. I
That's
might have
possible.
accidentally flattened that layer. And that's when you flatten a layer like that, you lose the actual setting. So I
Yeah.
might have accidentally done that. And that's probably why I wasn't able to actually go back and look at the original way I did it. But that's
Will a flattened layer show in your history?
no, because the history is only for the time that you're working on it. When you shut the file and save it, your history's all gone. You don't keep the history forever. It only is the history for the period of time that you're working. Listen, I got to get out of here, or I'm never going to show you my floor stuff. Okay?
Okay, do the floor stuff.
All right, let me show you this. No. Okay. So here's what I have. I have this, and I have this. So what I did, just so that you understand, I was told, let me hide, well, I don't need all this stuff now. So what I had to do, this is give you an idea of how stuff like this works. I had to put a new floor in here. This is one of the pictures that I got. So the picture, or the floor is, watch this, you ready? There's the floor. So what I needed to do is I needed to cut the couch out. So I actually had to cut the couch out, and there's the couch up there that I cut out. If I turn it on, you can see slightly, because I have an effect on it. You see it? See the little effect? Okay, so the couch is showing. Now watch when I show my floor. Okay? So there's my floor. So what I had to do, literally, is I had to create that floor. There's the floor. How did I create that floor? I'll show you. This is where the nightmare comes in. I'm going to open this file up. Well, this is a real nightmare. Let me tell you. Let me tell you what I
I
had.
bet.
So what I had to do here is I had to open this file up right here. Okay. And what I had to do literally is I had to come in here and I had to straighten this out. Each one of these boards had to be straight. So I had to unlock the layer, okay? And then I had to go edit, free transform, and I had to transform that layer so that those boards, see the two boards straightening out there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I had to straighten that out. Then I had to come in here and I had to, hit apply. Then I had to create a selection for each of these boards. I had to create a selection. So I created this selection right here. There's the first board selection. And to make this easier, oops, I didn't do a really good job at that. Let's go select transform selection. Let me make it a little bit bigger. I'm just going to give you an idea how I did this. I won't do it perfectly or exact, but I'll give you a rough idea how I did it. So I created that selection for the board. That's close enough. I went to the select menu. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I have to apply it. So now I have my selection. I go to the select menu and I go save selection. The reason that I saved the selection is all these boards have to be the same size. So I'm going to call this board, B-O-A-R-D, and I'm going to hit OK. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go layer, new, layer via copy. And now if I hide my background layer, there's my first board. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So then what I do is I go select, load selection, and I choose board and hit OK. And then I move that selection. I have to place it over that. And I move that selection over top of the next board. Let me get it over to the next board. I'm just going to do two so that you get the idea. I won't do the whole thing, or maybe I'll do one more row so that you get the idea. I want you to see how I have to move it around. Then I bring it down a little bit, make sure it's on the board, and you see how this board, there's more to it? Mm-hmm. I go to the select menu, and I go transform selection, and I just drag this over until I get all that board. And then I hit that tool and hit apply. And make sure I'm on the background layer, layer new, layer via copy. And now if I hide the background layer, these two boards aren't sitting next to each other, but if I were to click on both of those layers, I can go to the align menu and I can align them both towards their bottoms. Oh, here we go, right here. Align them to the bottom. Then you see how those two are the same size?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let me go back here and let me show you that each of these boards, this is the thing. First of all, this I had a photograph. I actually had to photograph this. So I had to set all those boards up, and then I had to photograph it. I had to color correct it. I'm not even going to show you how I did that. But, well, I mean, basically what I had to do, just so that you know, is I had to take one of those boards and I had to sit with it in my lap, and I had to bring this picture into Photoshop, and I had to look at the board and look at the picture, look at the board and look at the picture, and use my, I had to go in here and I had to use my levels and brightness and contrast to get the boards to look exactly or as much like the board that was sitting in my lap as I possibly could. Okay?
You don't use the black, gray, and white little board that we used to use for color corrections?
No, I use the levels. I use the level adjustment. I generally use the level adjustment.
Okay.
So now I bring this down to that second board there, and you can see that this one actually photographed pretty straight. Can you see how that is pretty straight?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then what I did was I just went back to the select menu again, and I went load selection again, and I come back in here, I grab board again, hit OK. And then I make sure I got the regular tool, the rectangle tool, and then I walk that selection down. Because if you don't have that selection, if you don't have that tool selected, you'll actually cut a hole in the board. Bring that down to there, and then I'm going to move it over and get it on that board like that. and then again, select transform selection, and then I'll drag this over like that, and then I'm going to make my third board. I'll get that, and click that, hit apply, and layer new. Actually, got to make sure I'm on the background layer. Layer new, layer via copy. So ultimately, what I do is I build all those boards. And then after I do that, I go to the image menu and I go to image size. And this is 45 inches. So in order for me to make this board and make these boards into a floor, what I have to do is I have to make this 60 inches by 60 inches and hit OK. And then this thing becomes 60 inches by 60 inches, view fit on screen. And then what I do is I take my boards and I start moving my boards to the top, and I move it over like this, and I start laying my boards out. Now, of course, if I were really doing this, I'd have more boards. And I'd grab that layer, and I'd move that board up here and move it into position and make a floor. And I just keep repeating it. I keep repeating it with the boards, okay, until I get a floor. So I'll do that, and then maybe this one over here I'll duplicate, okay, because I don't have any other boards to work with. Bring that over here like that, okay, and if I want to make it look a little different, I'll go layer, image rotation, flip horizontally, edit, and I'm step backwards. I want to go, that's it, image transform, or edit transform, flip horizontally. There, I flipped that layer. See how I did that?
Mm-hmm.
That's really what I do is I just keep dragging these layers down, and I keep dragging the layers over and making boards until I make an entire floor. So that's how I do that. I end up with this, which is my floor. There's my floor, okay? And then I put over top of my floor. Oh, and I also, see I get these little hot spots there? That's an imperfection in one of my, boards. Yeah, so what I had to do literally is I had to go in and I had to use the touch-up tools to touch some of them up, okay, so that they weren't so regular, because they were regular over the entire thing. So I touched them up a little bit. Then I bring my couch back in place. And so it begins to look like a floor. But, you know, again, you need some more details. So what I did was I also cut the slippers out. See, there's the slippers. Can you see them?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I cut the slippers out, and then I put the slippers on this thing as well. Bring the slippers back in. And then what I wanted to do to make this look more like a real floor, because right now it looks so flat and lifeless, doesn't it? And it looks kind of artificial. What I did was I created shadows. So what I did was I literally came in and I created a couple of shadows. So when you look at the whole thing, it looks a whole lot more. Let me just show you. Click on this and put that up there.
Okay.
And I'm going to put all these in here so that you can see this real quickly. Put it in that group. And then I'm going to hide that group. And that's what the original looked like. And that's what my final version looked like. Okay?
I like it.
And the point I'm trying to make here is that the reason I'm doing this is because these guys have this material, and he really hasn't got any. There's 38 different materials, and he doesn't really have any floors or any photos made with this. So I'm kind of stuck having to literally do this to make these floors. This is the kind of thing that really falls into what I would call typical Photoshop stuff that you're going to come across. I have no idea who you're going to work for, but I can tell you right now, like I said, I had no idea that I'd be doing this kind of work, but this is very typical of the kind of stuff that you can do with Photoshop. And you'll find that you'll become very good at this in time. Just really takes enough practice. So that's it. I basically got everything covered for tonight. We've got a couple of minutes left. Does anybody have anything they want to say or ask before we wrap it up for tonight? Any questions at all?
What was the times that you was going to be here to help us if we needed it?
So two things. Number one, there's a teaching assistant in announcements. You can go in and you can see her time. You also have Blackboard Collaborate any night at all. You can go to Blackboard Collaborate and you can find a graphic designer to help you, just like me. My nights in Blackboard Collaborate are Wednesday from 7 o'clock to 11 p.m. Mountain Time. Saturday from 7 o'clock to 12 o'clock p.m. Mountain Time. And tomorrow night, I will be here in this room again as well.
At the same time?
I'm sorry, what?
At the same time?
She cut out. Did anybody know
What time, hon? Tomorrow, what are your hours here?
the same time, 5 to 7 p.m. Mountain Time. It would be just like, I'm going to be in this room here. It's going to be, instead of me giving a class, I'll be here in case somebody wants to come in and get some help.
Okay, that's what she was asking.
Yeah, I'll be here tomorrow night.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
Nope, not for me.
Okay, everybody happy? Everybody good?
Yep.
All right, so I guess
All
I'll wrap. Go ahead, I'm sorry, what?
So, all good here.
Okay, so I will wrap it up for tonight, and I hope this was helpful. Again, don't feel hesitant to find me any of those nights if you need help. Also, like I say, I have an assistant. You have an assistant. She's listed in announcements. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's it for tonight then.
Have a good night.
You too.
Have a nice night.